In the United States, serial killers, though rare, account for a horrific fraction of homicides. Yet when one emerges, their deeds often send shockwaves through communities far and wide, driven by the chilling combination of method and motive. Fewer than 1% of murders are committed by serial offenders, but their stories are the ones that haunt us the longest. Welcome to CrimeBot Chronicles, your deep dive destination into the darkest corners of human behavior. If you're drawn to unraveling true crime mysteries, hit subscribe, click the notification bell, and help ensure these stories and their victims are never forgotten. Now, let's step into a case that still lingers in the minds of investigators and communities alike. It was late autumn of 2021 when the unthinkable began to unravel. Imagine a quiet Virginia city, Harrisonburg, nestled against rolling Blue Ridge foothills, a place where college students mingle with church-going families and factory workers clock into their shifts. It was here that two very different women vanished under eerily similar circumstances, and a brutal pattern took shape. First was Aline Elizabeth Beth Redmon, in her mid-50s, a devoted mother and grandmother. She was steady, church-affiliated, known for her gentle spirit and warm laughter. Surviving a personal tragedy years before, she had rebuilt her life, quietly strong, quietly kind. She told her daughter she was meeting a man named Ant. Strange, perhaps, but not alarming. When she didn't return, friends searched her phone logs, her car, but there was nothing. Until surveillance placed her entering room 336 at the Howard Johnson at dusk, and, hours later, pulling a shopping cart laden with what looked like bedding toward the hotel's back lot. Not long after, Tonita Smith disappeared. She was late 30s, mother of 6, vibrant, resilient, a woman whose laugh, loud, caring, filled her family gatherings. She too had met someone online. A Tinder match, plenty of fish, a spark of connection in a lonely world. The messages ended the same way, a motel rendezvous, and then silence. On November 24, 2021, investigators confronted a horror. In a vacant lot behind the hotel, human remains wrapped in hotel linens and an abandoned shopping cart, still lodged in the gravel, silent witness to a crime that defied understanding. The victims, Beth and Tonita. Chilling, efficient, cold. From that moment, the case and nickname took on a life of its own. Anthony Eugene Robinson, sometimes transient, sometimes working factory or waste management shifts, was arrested that same day. He was taken into custody not because of his demeanor, but because cell tower pings, cameras, and hotel logs traced both women to him, and because surveillance showed him pushing a cart late at night, the outline of a body visible under carefully draped sheets. Robinson had no criminal record. Born in 1986, with a quiet upbringing, he seemed unremarkable to the outside. But as investigators peeled back the layers, the pattern grew gruesome. Within weeks, detectives in Fairfax County and Washington, D.C., connected two more cases. Cheyenne Brown, a 29-year-old pregnant single mother with a 7-year-old son, and Stephanie Harrison, a visiting tourist. Both were found in a wooded area near Alexandria, her remains in a bin beside a shopping cart. Families recognized the horror in headlines and reached out, turning grief into a network of urgency. Yet beyond the trail of bodies, there were survivors, women who crossed paths with Robinson and escaped alive. Monica White, among them, would later recount bone-chilling episodes, compulsive calls, bizarre demands to not be judged, a terrifying attempt to tie her up in bed, and, most disturbingly, urination in her bed on her birthday, causing her to flee. Her vivid testimony became a chilling psychological window into the mind of someone who wore friendly masks while harboring dark urges. The investigation unfolded like a textbook on predatory escalation. Hotels were scoured for surveillance footage. Digital forensic teams combed through Robinson's browser history, finding searches, videos, and content that eerily mirrored his victims in appearance and circumstance. Every clue from the timing of his phone calls to route data, from checkout timestamps to the hotel linens added up. Detectives build detailed timelines of each encounter, each body disposal, each step that marked his methodical, remorseless path. The most unsettling part of this story isn't just the number of victims, it's how easily Anthony Robinson moved through life without drawing attention. Neighbors described him as quiet, kept to himself. He didn't have the look of a killer, no wild temper in public, no record of violent arrests, no newsworthy outbursts. Instead, he was invisible in plain sight, a man who could slip into the background of any crowd. But inside the rooms he booked, in the privacy of those dimly lit motel corridors, something monstrous emerged. Beth's last known hours are pieced together through witness statements, phone data, and chilling video footage. She met Robinson in the hotel lobby just after 7 p.m. She was dressed casually, hair tied back, holding a tote bag. The two chatted briefly at the counter before walking toward the elevator. By 7:05, the elevator doors closed on them, taking them to the third floor. That was the last moment Beth was seen alive. Hours later, Robinson is captured on security footage again, but this time, he's alone. The camera angle catches the strained effort as he pushes a metal shopping cart toward the service exit. The cart is piled with linens, but the uneven bulk beneath hints at something else. He pauses near the back door, glances over his shoulder, and disappears from view. The shopping cart is never returned. Instead, it turns up days later, rusting in a gravel lot, next to a pair of large plastic containers. Inside are the wrapped remains of Beth and Tonita, both dumped together, as if in some grotesque pairing, meant to erase their individual identities. For Harrisonburg detectives, this was no ordinary murder case. The precision of the disposal method suggested planning, not impulse. They began building a timeline comparing hotel check-in records, ATM withdrawals, rideshare logs, and phone GPS pings. Robinson's name kept surfacing, tethering the victims to him in the hours before their deaths. Detective Sarah Jameson, a 15-year veteran, remembers the first moment she realized the scope of what they were dealing with. Once we had two women tied to one man, using the same location, the same cart, we knew. This wasn't an isolated thing. This was a hunting pattern. The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction: digital dating profiles. Robinson's accounts were still active even after his arrest. On several apps, detectives found the same profile pictures: a slightly awkward selfie in a blue shirt, a half smile that could pass for shy or unassuming. His bio was bland, just looking for good conversation. But his match history told a different story. Dozens of women in the region, many approached with the same casual opener. "You seem interesting. Want to meet?" Some of these women were interviewed. One described him as borderline charming at first, but strangely insistent on meeting in hotels. Another recounted how, after just one date, he began sending messages at odd hours, sometimes 20 or 30 in a row. In one especially disturbing case, a woman said she woke in the middle of the night to find Robinson standing silently in her hotel room doorway, watching her. She left the next morning and never responded to his messages again. Meanwhile, the Fairfax County Police Department was combing through a missing persons case that had gone cold months earlier. Cheyenne Brown's family had been desperately searching for her since September. She was 29, a devoted mother, and several months pregnant when she vanished. Through cell phone records, detectives discovered Cheyenne's last known location matched Robinson's phone data, both pinged near the Moon Inn Motel the night she disappeared. A search of a wooded area nearby turned up a grim find: a large shopping cart, its metal frame flecked with rust, parked next to a plastic storage bin. Inside were two bodies, Cheyenne and another woman, later identified as 48-year-old Stephanie Harrison. The consistency of the method was undeniable. The shopping cart wasn't just a tool of convenience, it was a signature. In the dark psychology of serial killers, these patterns are often called rituals, small details that provide the perpetrator with control, familiarity, or gratification. Whether Robinson saw the cart as practical, symbolic, or both, it became his mark, the thing that made headlines and etched his crimes into the public imagination. By January 2022, Robinson was facing 4 murder charges, with investigators openly stating they believed there could be more victims. Police departments across multiple states began reviewing their own unsolved cases, especially those involving transient victims, hotel rooms, and abandoned shopping carts. In preparation for trial, prosecutors knew they needed more than just forensic evidence. They needed to show jurors the human cost. They called on survivors to testify, women who had met Robinson and lived to tell the tale. Monica White's testimony was perhaps the most harrowing. She described how, during their short relationship, Robinson's behavior shifted from quirky to violent. She recounted the night he tried to tie her up, the humiliation of waking to find her bed soaked with urine, and the growing dread that he was testing boundaries to see how much control he could exert. Her voice cracked on the stand, but her words painted a vivid portrait of a man whose cruelty was as psychological as it was physical. The trial itself was a study in contrasts. Robinson sat at the defense table expressionless, hands folded neatly. Witness after witness described the chaos and destruction he left behind, yet he barely reacted. The prosecution played hours of surveillance footage, each clip showing Robinson wheeling that same cart, always in the quiet hours before dawn, always loaded with hidden weight. Jurors leaned forward, watching the grainy images of a man in a hooded sweatshirt pushing his victims toward their final resting place. Forensic pathologists explained the challenges in determining the exact cause of death for some victims due to decomposition. But in Beth's case, signs of suffocation were present. In Tonita's, a plastic bag was found over her head. The brutality was there, even if the precise moment of death could not always be pinpointed. After 2 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for less than half an hour before returning with their verdict: guilty on all counts. Their sentencing recommendation was clear: 4 consecutive life sentences, plus additional years for the concealment of bodies. When the sentence was read, family members wept. Some sobbed openly, others stared hard at Robinson, as if willing him to feel the weight of their loss. One of Tonita's brothers stood and shouted toward the defendant, before deputies quickly escorted him out, a raw display of grief that no gavel could silence. Even after conviction, the case refuses to fade from public consciousness. Robinson's suspected victim count may be higher than the confirmed 4. Detectives in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and beyond are still cross-referencing missing persons cases with his known movements. For the public, the story serves as a chilling reminder that predators often look ordinary. Dating apps have since implemented more safety reminders. Local hotels have increased security camera coverage and begun requiring additional ID verification. Advocacy groups hold seminars on safe meetup practices for online dating. But for the victims' families, no policy change can erase the loss. Beth's daughter says she still half expects her mother to walk through the door on Sunday afternoons. Cheyenne's young son asks questions his family can't bear to answer. Stephanie's sister keeps her voicemail saved just to hear her voice. Anthony Robinson will spend the rest of his life behind bars, but the shadow he cast lingers. The shopping cart killer moniker is both a media shorthand and a warning, a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary objects can become part of the most extraordinary evil. This has been CrimeBot Chronicles. If this story has opened your eyes, please subscribe, like, and share. Every view helps keep these cases alive. Every comment gives a voice to the voiceless, and every share pushes back against the darkness. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never stop asking questions.